Assalamu alaikum students, this is Muhammad Ismail, your economics teacher, and today we are going to start the topic under economic development titled as population. In a very simple way, when we say population means the total number of people living in a certain country over a certain period of time. And population depends on a number of factors. That is why we are going to discuss, or we will be discussing, factors that affect population growth. When we say growth, growth means the rise in population, rise in the size of population. The first factor which does influence is birth rate. When we say birth rate, we mean the number of live births, mean a living child, living babies born per thousand of population in a year. Now, suppose if there are certain number of you can say students certain number of babies, suppose 10,000 babies born in the country, so we will convert the population of a country in thousands, and then we will divide that per thousand how many kids are born. So this is how we find the birth rate. Then is basically the rise in birth rate will increase the size of population. Death rate, the number of deaths per thousand of population in a year. This is opposite to birth rate. Now, its impact is also opposite. If there is an increase in death rate, so then definitely the population size will become smaller. So it means it will cause a negative growth or deceleration in the population growth. Then there is net migration. Now, this term net migration describes the difference between the number of immigrants and the number of immigrants throughout the year. Now, who are immigrants? With IMMI, immigrants, we mean those people who come to the country. And immigrants, EMI, mean from emit, those who leave the country. So it means net migration is dependent on the immigrants and immigrants. So if there are there are net immigrants, I mean the people who are coming to the country are more than the people who are leaving the country, so then the size of population will rise, otherwise it will decrease. Immigration. Immigration is the act of entering a country to live permanently. So it means all those people who come to get the title of permanent residency, or who come under permanent residency, they become part of the host country, or they become part of the population of the host country. And immigration, the act of leaving a country to live in another, it is opposite to immigration. So it means when people leave one country to live in another country, we call them immigrants, mean those who are leaving the country. So it means the population will increase on the net rise in population, for example, birth rate minus death rate. If suppose the birth rate is 2% and the death rate is 1%, so it means there will be 1% rise in population. And net migration, if the number of people who are coming into the country are more than the number of people who are going out of the country, so then overall there will be increase in the size of population. Then, reasons for different rates of population growth in different countries. Now, mostly we divide countries in two categories. One is called developed countries and the other is called developing countries. Now, how and why birth rates vary? LDCs mean less developed countries. Less developed countries have high birth rate. High birth rate is because of early marriages. I mean, mostly in developing countries, people marry at an earlier age. So that is why, due to high fertility rate at the earlier age, the birth rate is also high. And at the same time, in less developed countries, there are strong family values. So that is why people live together. They prefer to form a family, and the family is completed with the birth of a kid. So that is why most of the people who first of all get married at an earlier age, and then due to high fertility at the earlier age, and with the will to complete the family, so they have babies, and ultimately having babies, the population increases. Another reason is that they have poor family structure, economic affluence, and sorry, basically in case of developed countries, they have low birth rates. Why? Because they have poor family structure. I mean, generally, they are not that keen in having big families, or they do not live in nucleus families. And at the same time, they have economic affluence. It means they are economically well off, and they have enough resources to spend and enjoy. Then low fertility, and mostly in developed countries, the fertility rate is low. Why? Because mostly people, they get married in their later years, late 30s, and so on. And by the time you get into your 30s, the fertility rate goes down. So that is why they have relatively lower population growth. Then the next point is how and why death rates vary. In case of less developed countries, death rate is falling, and it has been observed in case of even Pakistan because of better medical facilities, improved sanitation. It means there were times when we used to go to the sand dunes, and there used to be outdoor toilets, and due to that there used to be diseases due to human feces. But now, due to improved sanitation, so people are able to enjoy better living standards and enough clean drinking water. Between almost all parts of the urban areas and selected parts of the rural areas, even they have access to safe drinking water. And that is why the death rate has gone down. While developed countries have low death rates as their age structure favors it, but these countries are now facing aging of population. Unfortunately, the developed countries, they used to have, and even until today, they have very low birth rate, a very small birth rate, due to which their people who are young, they are becoming old, and they have a dependent population which is based on old people rather than the babies in case of developing countries. Next is varying net migration. Now, mostly people prefer to move from LDCs to OECDs. When we say OECD, we mean Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, or Economic Cooperation and Developed Countries. So people prefer to move to these countries, like we are familiar that there is PR offered by New Zealand, by Australia, by England, by US, by Canada, and some other countries as well. So people prefer to move to these countries. Why? For their better future, and at the same time to have access to all opportunities. So this is how the population growth rates are different in different countries. Then effects of changes in the size and the structure of population on different countries. For this, we need to know, first of all, what is optimum population, or is there any population which is the most desirable? And that which is desirable, we call it optimum population, I mean the best possible. It is that size of population which allows the economy to maximize its per capita output by employing existing resources. It means a country is supposed to have enough number of people with which they can employ all the available resources to maximize their per capita income or output or per person output. So that population can be the optimum or the most desirable population. Then comes the effects of increases and decreases in population size. Now, suppose if the actual number of individuals in a population, basically, so if the actual number, now we are discussing the actual number of individuals in the population. Now, population size is measured by population density. And population density is what? The number of people per unit of area. A rise will cause pollution, loss of vegetation, and congestion. Now, you might have looked or you might have experienced when you visit Lahore, particularly Thokar, or you visit even Maridke. I mean, any entry point of Lahore. So you will realize how big Lahore has become. Why? Because the number of people living per kilometer, per square kilometer of Lahore has gone through the roof. I mean, there are many people who have come from faraway places to work in Lahore or to find their fortune or to earn their fortune. But at the same time, what it is causing, congestion is increasing, pollution is increasing because of many vehicles on the road, and even the canal road, congested one. Then loss of vegetation. It means where there used to be open areas, green areas, now all the trees have been cut and the same land has been converted into real estate, which is just a concrete, steel, and that's all. It means no more vegetation. So that is why the living standard in a way is falling and the access to virgin air or fresh air is declining. Then, the effects of changes in the age and gender distribution of population. It is also called sex ratio. Over the decades, the sex ratio is falling, mean the male to given number of females are falling. It is decreasing across the world due to lower female and higher male mortality. So now with this, we are able to find that how the gender distribution is changing. So this allows us to understand that how this population is affecting the size and the structure of population. Then, population structure is usually shown by using a population pyramid. Now, pyramid is just like a graphical structure which is a two-dimensional one. On the right side, we go for males, and on the left side, we go for females. And vertically, we take ages, age groups, and horizontally, we take population in millions. And then we graph it so that we can find that how many millions of people fall in a certain age group, which we call population pyramid. The population pyramid is a graph that shows the age and the sex structure of a country. And these pyramids help us to guess age structure, sex ratio, dependent population of a country. I mean, if there is a tree type of population pyramid, so then this shows that this is a developed country where the dependent population is small, working population is big, that is why that economy is economically well off. Whereas if it looks like a bush, so it means it has huge dependent population in the form of babies, in the form of teenagers who cannot work or who are not legally capable and allowed to work. So that is why they have small workforce, and ultimately their economic prosperity is very low. And this is how these countries are suffering, and these countries are also entitled as less developed countries. So, students, with this, the topic population is over. You are requested to go through it, watch and listen the video, and then you should try to go through your lecture notes. And if you have enough time, which you should, so you can go to the text, and then later you can find problems, and those problems you can either text me through WhatsApp, or you can ask me through the email, and my email ID is mismail345 at hotmail.com.